they actually met. Yeah, he was a woman. Malcolm would have been 88 this year. If you were like, you would be 88. He was born in 1925. Dr. King was born in 1925. Now, on looking at this, the first thing you see is Malcolm. Because I grew up in the Caribbean, and the impression I was given of Dr. Malcolm was that he was a violent person. Dr. King was the peaceful one, Malcolm was the violent one. Nobody has ever proved Malcolm was violent. Okay? But that was the impression I got growing up as a child. Okay? So what I did was to present two Muslims in front of a mosque. You saw Malcolm, you didn't see the two Muslims. Okay? The two Muslims. What Malcolm was saying is black people should do for self. Be self-sufficient. Let's not wait on handouts. Let's try. In fact, once he said if black preachers could create factories instead of churches, black people wouldn't have problems. I have to get it done. Okay. We spend money on building churches, but we don't spend money on building factories. If we had our own factories, we wouldn't have to beg anybody to start. So, another thing he said was, if a man puts his hand on you, don't let him put his hand on somebody else. So he was more or less talking about self-defense. He wasn't saying go beat up people. He was saying don't turn the other cheek. Dr. King may have been saying don't turn the other cheek. He was saying don't turn the other cheek. By that. So here I use the scimitar. Scimitar, which is the skilled sword, to represent self-defense. And the sickle, which is a blade that you use to rip for your wheat, cut wheat and so, and to represent self-sufficiency. So the two blades, which look like weapons, are actually to be self-sufficient and to have a show, to reap your own corn, and the other one was to defend yourself. So I use them to create this foresight, his glasses, his foresight, his vision. And if you look closely, you'll notice there are two Muslims here, brandishing sickle and scimitar, and which turn into his glasses, his foresight. And if you look here, you'll see on the tiles, M, X. So they're standing in front of a mosque, posing in a belligerent manner, which is the impression that I was given of Malcolm as a child. Okay? So you see Malcolm looking at him, but it's actually two Muslims in front of a mosque. This was done in 1991. Yeah. No, they've never seen it. Yes? I don't know too much about his history, but he converted to Islam when he was in prison in Massachusetts. And he was introduced to Islam by Elijah Muhammad. But later on he found out that Elijah Muhammad was not as honest as he portrayed himself, so they split. And that eventually
we think. We don't know.
Well, that's
sure. But that's what they claim.
Many of the followers, the hardline followers, felt he was a traitor to many of the hardline followers felt he was a traitor to Elijah Muhammad. He was shot right up top.
Audubon.
Yeah.
In Harlem.
In Harlem. On 180, no, around 180. Audubon Ballroom. Close to Medgar Evers on Broadway. Okay. Let's go to this one. He said, I've been to the mountaintop, I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. And what do we see here? Do we see Obama or do we see something else?
Obama.
You see Obama? Okay.
I don't see the guy holding.
Here is liberty. Miss Liberty, she's dressed in a gown soaked in the blood of Africans. Because in 400 years, a lot of Africans were shed. She's making a huge jump. Why is she jumping so high? How many of us really believe that Obama could win the presidency? We didn't believe it. Okay, many black people were supporting Hillary Clinton. Very few people believed it. So what he accomplished is like jumping over a 20-foot barrier. Let us look at what that barrier is. It's the barrier of exclusion. Why do I call it the barrier of exclusion? The presidency was an exclusive club until now. It was a club of white men. Okay? So when he jumped over that, when he became president, it was like jumping over a 20-foot wall. It's a huge feat. But look at what that barrier of exclusion is. Do you notice what it is? It's a rope. A rope that's going from the old whipping pole. You know what I mean by the whipping pole? Black people were tied to a pole and whipped. From the old slave whipping pole to the flagpole. Now, if you notice what the barrier of exclusion, I call it the barrier of exclusion. Do you notice what it is? You said it. You said it. A rope. Look at where it is.
It's around lynching.
That's what happened to a lot of black men. There are still 5,000 unsolved lynchings.
At least
5,000 unsolved. And there are many people who would love to put that aside. Okay? The flag is flying. The eagle is flying high. Do you notice the eagle? Okay. So the sky is the limit. We can accomplish anything that we want. If we can really make it to the presidency, we can accomplish anything that we want. But there's some clouds of obstruction. The sky is not all that clear. Look at the kind of problem this is getting. Everything it tries to do, there's an obstruction. The clouds of obstruction, alright? Blocking everything. Okay? What did Dr. King say on the night before he died? I've been to the mountaintop. I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. Now, those mountains form his shoulders. The weight is on his shoulders. He has to bear the burden of those mountains. Okay? So, this is the way I see it. Dr. King said, I've been to the mountaintop. Now those mountains are on his shoulders. Because anything that goes wrong, he's going to get blamed for it. Okay? So the weight of the country is really on his shoulders. Okay. Now this one is based on a story that Andrew Young told. Andrew Young we saw in that other page. Andrew Young was one of his followers. He was actually there when Dr. King was shot. Okay? And they were hustling on the balcony of the Lauren Motel. Jesse Jackson, Andrew Young, they were downstairs. Dr. King was on the balcony. And they heard a crack. And they thought it was a firecracker. But when Dr. King fell backwards, his shoe was hanging over the balcony. So they thought he was joking because Dr. King was a practical joker. He always played games. But when they realized, a little girl who was standing there, she pointed to where there's some came from. It was across. They ran upstairs. He was shot right in the neck. No. The guy, that's when Dr. King was killed. The day that Dr. King was killed. In fact, it was my mother's birthday. April 4th, 1968. My mother's birthday. And I never forgot that. I was in high school then. I was 15 years old, approaching my 15th birthday. And it was a Thursday evening, I can still remember that. Oh yes, I mean the United States riot. 125 cities were burned. Riots all over. 125 cities were burning.
And at that time I saw myself being challenged to Vietnam. As a young teenager, 19 years old, headed to Vietnam.
People were angry.
People were very angry.
So here you have, Andrew Young was saying that the night before Dr. King died, the same night he gave that speech, the mountaintop speech, the cook at the Valorian Motel prepared fried catfish for Dr. King. Abernathy says, how come only Martin gets
fish.
fried fish? Dr. King took the plate of fish, he put it on the bed, and he said, let's share it. What comes to mind? Now, fish is the symbol of Christ. Have you ever noticed people on their cars, they have a fish at the back of the car? A simple shape of a fish like this? Like this, yes. The ancient Christians, they were being persecuted by the Romans. So they couldn't acknowledge that they were Christians. So what they would do, so if I suspected you were Christian and I want you to know that I'm a Christian, we want to share the fact that we are Christians, I would draw the fish. Now why the fish? Jesus Christus, Theos, Iosos, Sota. That is Greek for Jesus Christ, Son of God, Savior. Now that acronym spelled Ishtis. Ishtis is the ancient Greek word for fish. That's why the fish became the symbol of Christ. So the Christians would draw in the sand, they would draw the fish. So you would know now that I'm a Christian and we would communicate that way. So many times you see people with the fish on their car. They more or less say, I'm a Christian. So here is the fish, the communion. So it's actually the fish is Christ. And they're about to have their communion. But there's more in this bed. This is Dr. King. What do you see up in the window? The sunset, serving as his halo. What else do you see in the window? You see a cross, the frame of the window. What else do you see on the frame? A chain. Look at the shape of the chain. Christ on the cross. Christ on the cross. Okay? And notice that the halo, the sun is right over his head like a halo. The night before he died. Okay? Then here is Alpha Banati. Here is Andrew Young. Jesse Jackson. And there's one more person. He's in Congress right now. He's a congressman from Georgia. He has a big scar in his head. And that happened in 1965 when they were protesting for right to vote in Selma, Alabama. If you look at the footage, he had how do you call it? This bag kids wear on the back. Backpack on his shoulder. If you see that footage where they charged the group with horses, he was the first one to fall. And a police officer hit him in the head. He still has that big scar in his head. He was bleeding in the head. He was a young man in his 20s. Now he's a congressman. His name is John Lewis. So if you look up John Lewis, you will see, yeah. That's him standing back there. He was one of those there.
Why is
Abernathy. Why is he turned away? I tell you why. I put him there. What happened? 22 years I was so angry when he did that. Now he was very close to Dr. King. 22 years after Dr. King died, he wrote a book revealing something about Dr. King that, I mean, for years people have been trying to find something nasty on Dr. King, and he just fed them that information. You know why he wrote in that book? No, this is his close friend. And he wrote a book saying that the night before Dr. King died, he slept with 3 different women. And what made it worse was a state senator from Georgia, a woman. She said, yes, I was one of them. Now, 22 years after he died, you come out with a book like that. It was necessary. Why not reveal something like that? We don't know it. But the woman said, yes, I was one of them. Give Sweden. And that is bad, but to sell a book. So what do you notice in his left hand? The book. I think there was a jealousy.
Yeah.
There was a jealousy. He feel he should have gotten more credit as that. So he wrote this book revealing that Dr. King slept with 3 women that night. And it was, luckily it didn't go too far. Yes?
What's the connection with this technology?
Well, again, Christian. Each face, yes. Now, if you notice his face is turned. Have you seen the Last Supper?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Whom do you think he represents there? Because Judas has a bag of money, he has the book. Okay? And notice that his face is turned. But if you take a good look, you notice he has a piece of bread. He has a piece of bread in his plate. Start moving backwards. It's a face. And there's more. There's a face.
The art speaks to you.
Here the eyes. Here's the nose. And the mouth is the fish. So Christ is up here. Christ is up here in among them. Wait. Yes. Here's his beard. And his mustache. Okay, but bread and wine. Bread and wine. What? Wine. Do you see the wine glass? It's there.
For the wine glass.
Look for the wine glass. It's big.
Big?
Yes.
I see it.
You see it? Show it to us.
I think it's right here.
Beautiful. Beautiful, brother. Beautiful. All right.
Yeah, that's right. So the wallpaper. The wallpaper is the wine in the glass. The wine in the glass. The bread. And the fish.
So has Andrew Young seen this?
No, this was done recently. No, these paintings are just beside here is in a room. Hopefully hoping one day I can find a building where I can put them on permanent display.
National Black Arts Festival.
Okay? And so these are the people who were with him when he died, when he was killed. Andrew Young, Ralph Papanati, Jesse Jackson, and there were others there too, like Hosea Williams. Hosea Williams was there. And when they ran upstairs, but he was already gone. Before he reached the hospital, he was dead. The bullet went right through his neck. And that's from across the street, across the... Some time ago they were about to sell it. Some time ago they were about to sell it. And a lot of black guys decided, no, you're not selling this. Magic Johnson was one of them. They said, the money they bought. And we could do that this Friday. This was now a museum. Okay? The intent was to buy it up and destroy it. So a lot of people decided, no way you're not going to destroy that. You're not going to, so they went and they bought it and they turned it into a museum. It's now the Civil Rights Museum in Memphis. There you go.
So we're going to go back into the gallery.